You want to know which lord I support? Why, are you out canvassing for someone? I am with His Excellency Erwosli Teldisli. You probably know him better as Lord Balsa. I know a lot of people consider him to be a giant brute. Believe me, I realize he can be an aggressive man. What those people don't realize is how much he looks after the members of his house. It's fair to say that House Teldalis doesn't enjoy much esteem. Those of us who serve it will be the first to admit that.
Yes!
But His Excellency always stands up against any who would mean us harm, or that we can be sure. His efforts in the crown contest aren't only for his family, but to improve the standing of each and every member of his house.
Yes!
I owe so much to His Excellency. I could never dream of serving any other lord.
Balsef had it in him to care about someone other than himself? Really?
It's possible. A change in position can do much to alter one's perspective.
So even he might have had something he wanted to protect.
Lord Dohalim, you have returned. Ah, and I see you brought aides with you. Do you remember who I am, my lord? Surely you must, yes. Not only do I support House Il-Karas, but more specifically his lordship personally. So much so, I've been trying to share my appreciation of his lordship to any who will listen. I think I just left the word out. In fact, I was planning to publish my extensive writings on the subject through this very terminal for all to read and enjoy. But since the lines appear to be cut due to the recent turmoil, I've been unable to upload them. I know, since you're all here, I'll just read them aloud. Ahem. There exists a most handsome man, a man who radiates beauty, whose every word, every syllable is divine poetry. He hails from the famed House Il-Karas, and his name, Lord Dohalim. Music is his passion, the arts his great love. The scores of boorish, uncouth men of this land cannot begin to compare to his magnificence. So refined and majestic is... I can't read this with Dohalim just like glaring at her. What is going on? So refined and majestic is his posture. Why, the mere thought of it brings me to ecstasy. He looks like he's like shooting lasers out of his eyes at her. Like, he's so angry that she would dare to praise him this way. Once he becomes our sovereign, Rena shall bloom anew, ushering in an era of prosperity for our grand civilization. Oh, now he's kind of smiling. Until that glorious day comes, I shall forever be praying for his victory, morning, noon, and night. Huh. Well, what did you think, my lord? I poured my whole heart into it, hoping to capture your essence. Wait, I forgot to mention anything about his lordship's love for collecting things. I must take this time while the lines are down to append it. Only then will my masterpiece be complete.
I guess she intended to spread it throughout all of Lenegis then.
Good thing the lines were down so she couldn't.
It almost sounded like she was praising them too.
Maybe there was more to the guy than at first glance.
I shall refrain from commenting.
Well, I never. To think anyone would try to tear me away from House Valkyris.
What?
What do you want? Don't tell me you work for Lord Dohalim or that dreadful Lord Almadria, do you? You don't? Well, don't scare me like that. To answer your question, I come from a family that has served House Valkyris for generations. Indeed, I'm doing all I can to support Lord Ganabelt behind the scenes so that he might emerge victorious. Many think him to be a cruel man, but I insist they're utterly mistaken. Though I won't deny he can be strict, he puts Rena's interests front and center like no one else. Why, he advocates that rather than stay confined to Lenegis, we should get on with colonizing Dana and expand our horizons. That way we will become masters of both worlds, and overturn our current minority status on Dana's surface. That is why he seeks to become our next sovereign. Tell me, is there a greater, more noble ambition than that? I think not. It is a pursuit of power for the advancement of all our kind. It is what makes him an exemplary lord, a model above all others. Though I was unable to accompany him myself, my 2 sons have been blessed with the honor of joining him on the surface. As their father, it fills me with endless pride.
Ganabelt was so horrible to people, yet he was invested in helping Rena succeed. Doesn't that seem just a little inconsistent?
I'm perhaps biased in this matter, I admit. However, in my mind, while all lords vie to become the next sovereign, they're also meant to serve as guardians of all of Rena.
It seems like Ganabelt also had people he cared about until the very end.
So why couldn't he extend that to us Danans?
This area doesn't look as badly damaged as that other district we went through.
Indeed, the effects of Lenegis' transformation appear to be less pronounced here. Or, viewed another way, this area was simply luckier.
Pardon me.
This area falls under the sole jurisdiction of House Canaris. I must ask you to depart at once. Surely you don't claim to be ignorant of our famed house ruled over by the esteemed Lord Almadria. If so, I urge you to listen well. In fact, I bid you listen carefully regardless. Have you ever noticed how in the history of Lenegis, only a few women lords have emerged to compete in the crown contest? Many have theories as to why this might be, but Lord Almadria has quashed the doubts of any naysayers through sheer might. In fact, not only did she usurp her father and previous family master, she also removed her older brother to claim the seat for herself. She is a woman who stops at nothing to get what she wants, who gives her enemies nary the slightest opening to strike. Truly, Lord Almadria is a woman of talent. No one in all Rena better exemplifies the virtues of our nation's meritocracy. Soon, the age of a glorious woman sovereign reigning over Lenegis shall be upon us at last.
I guess her willingness to stoop to any low came from a survival of the fittest worldview.
And some people here not only shared her belief, but championed it as morally right, too.
That doesn't make it true. Too bad they couldn't see through her.
Yeah.
I still argue that Almadria was a fantastic villain and really deserved much more than she got, and has a writer and a respecter of good character development. I feel like they really dropped the ball big time on Almadria. Like, I'm gonna go that is a mountain I'm willing to die on. Is that Almadria was a much better character than she got treated, and I really, part of me holds out hope that she'll show up again, but I'm pretty sure Volrun's gonna show up again instead, which is great. Oh well.
Ridiculous.
How loathsome. Oh, I was just reading about Volrun. Can I help you?
Okay.
I was always an ardent supporter of Lord Orwagel Hildress myself. Were it not for his sudden death down on the surface, I likely still would be. In my eyes, Lord Orwagel is still the true Waterlord. I don't believe for a second that he perished in some accident like they say. As for how Volrun runs Ganateros, don't get me started. I hear he enslaves not only Danans, but even his fellow Renans. We may live in a society where to the victor go the spoils, but his actions go against what we as a people stand for. Besides, just what sort of family line is this House Igniseri of his anyway? I'd never heard of it until he came along, which means they must be among the lowest dregs of society. That such an ignoble lineage should suddenly produce an astral artist capable of ascending to lordship is unheard of. None of it makes any sense, not to mention all of the upheaval around here of late. What is happening to our people?
It seems like the people on Lenegis don't really know much about Volron either.
I remember being quite surprised when the Lord of Ganateros changed so abruptly.
Didn't you have any doubts that something suspicious was going on?
On the contrary, Remember, we Renans are raised to accept everything at face value.
When you think about it, the families of Renan lords must see them differently than the rest of us.
Yeah, despite the brutality they're known for.
They must have had a lot on their shoulders, carrying all the weight and responsibilities of Renan society.
Renans live in a world where strength and power determine their position in the social hierarchy, so they tend to grow up fiercely competitive. But their loyalty to their people is also strong. It's what brings them together against outside forces, and nothing exemplifies that more than the Lords.
That's what makes them the guardians of all of Renan, so to speak.
Right. It's the same reason Balsif hated my guts, and Ganabelt went after you, because we're threats to Rena.
Guess that makes you an even bigger oddball than we thought.
So, Alphen, have you gained anything from all of this?
Yeah. I think it's made me realize that the Lords were all people, too. Balsif and the others, they all had their own circumstances to deal with as they went through life.
Yeah, but still, just because they had loved ones in their lives doesn't mean...
I know. What they did was horrible. I'm not trying to dispute that. But at the same time, they weren't incomprehensible monsters either. They were individuals, just like the rest of us. So I guess what I'm trying to say is...
You're saying that they weren't bad because they were Renans, or because they were terrible monsters. Even if they did terrible things, they were still just people.
Rinwell.
Am I wrong?
Not at all.
Being a Danan doesn't make you a good person. And being a Renan doesn't make you a bad one. I think that's something we've all seen.
Xion and Dohalim definitely make a good case for it.
And I'm going to keep doing my best to make sure I earn that trust. As a fellow human being above all else.
See, it's stuff like that right there, though, that makes me think that Bull Run's gonna show up again. Because there's too much question going on. Like the fact that he just suddenly became a lord and nobody knows anything about him. Yeah. Highly, highly suspect. So, I don't think we've seen the last of Bull Run.
There's something I just don't get.
What is it?
The crown contest itself has always gone ahead as planned, right? In which case, the current sovereign of Rena should be whoever it was that won the previous contest.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, who was it then?
Hanfricht Milgras, the former Lord of Cislodia, if memory serves.
So then this Hanfricht whatchamacallem, he's the current ruler of Rena?
The last I heard, yes. Though, admittedly, I haven't actually seen him since the end of the previous contest.
You're saying that ever since becoming sovereign, he's never actually shown himself on Lenegus?
I guess over holocom maybe, but not in the flesh. Same thing goes for the sovereign that came before him.
Now that you mention it, I don't recall anyone ever visiting Lenegus from the motherland, sovereign or otherwise.
And that never struck you as a little bit odd?
When you live here, it's as if you're conditioned not to notice all these strange quirks and discrepancies. The question is then, by whom? And to what end?
A new Renis Alma is supposedly created to coincide with every crown contest, meaning each victor is awarded their very own. In other words, if that's true, there should be as many of the things out there as there have been contests.
True, but going on what we witnessed in Pelagian, it didn't look like the sort of thing that could be made to order. But if even the victor's speeches have been part of some grand deception, then where are they? Quite frankly, I'm not even sure what to believe anymore.
You and me both. Though we are Renan by blood, neither of us even knew that such a thing as a Dark Master Core existed, remember?
With any luck, the Forbidden Zone might give us some answers.
No use standing around here chatting about it then. Let's get a move on.
Do?
Faria.
Varia? Isn't that the person that Avakir guy was...
But why are you here? Wait,
Don't tell me you've given up on the crown contest and come crawling back home from Dana already. Nothing to say? Even though you were willing to kill Tarnigan to secure your position as Lord, you still...
Kill?
I'm here to take care of something. If you wish to continue this conversation, I only ask that you wait until I'm finished.
Oh, of course. You always did prefer to take the coward's way out. Even after 7 years and living on that Danon rock, you haven't changed one bit. But let me tell you, I haven't changed either. Not a day's gone by the past 7 years that I haven't hated you.
If killing me will bring you peace, then so be it.
Dohalim, what the hell are you saying?
First, I have business to take care of. If it's vengeance you seek, I will grant you it. But you must wait. My sins are legion. Let me finish what I came to do. Then you have my word. I will let you do whatever brings you peace.
Sure, that's it. Run away like always. You don't even have the courage to die. No wonder you leave it to someone else. You're just a coward!
Dohalim.
I apologize that you had to witness that.
Is it true? What she said about you killing someone?
Each of us have our pasts. I am no exception.
Before, back in Menancia, you mentioned having taken a friend's life over the throne. Is that what she meant?
The mistakes I made there were not my first, and may not be my last. I will say no more.
Did you mean what you said? About letting her take your life if she wanted to?
She has more right to my life than anyone.
But you can't just...
Whatever happens, I have sworn to put an end to the crown contest, and to ensure continued coexistence in Menancia. I have no intention of expiring before I do so. There are far too many questions I still seek answers to. Besides, you have just as much reason to kill me as she does.
Dohalim!
Forgive me. Some things are best left unsaid.
When she turned around and the red woman was there, that didn't make me jump or anything, but it definitely freaked me the heck out. I was definitely not expecting that. So, good on you, game?
Wow, this place is beautiful!
Yeah, it must be some sort of rest and leisure area for the locals.
You think? Man, these Renan sure know how to live it up, don't they?
Is something the matter, Dohalim?
Before I went down to Dana, my friends and I, we used to gather at this very spot and play music together. Avakir, Faria, and Tarnigan. That was a lifetime ago now.
Tarnigan. He was the one that Faria mentioned, right?
He was once my dearest, closest friend. As well as Faria's betrothed. Despite Faria's lower-class upbringing, she possesses a tremendous talent for music. Entranced by her playing, I helped her overcome her sense of inferiority and introduced her to Tarnigan and Avakir. It was a time of great joy. 4 people bound only by their love of music, with no care for social standing. Only the next song, the next melody.
A friendship based on mutual respect, and a society where everyone is a prisoner to their social class. You really are different, Dohalim.
I suppose it's natural you would see it as strange.
I would have, once. Now, I think the idea of breaking away from society's constraints and choosing your friends based solely on affection is something beautiful that's worth cherishing. Besides, it was that way of looking at the world that laid the foundations for coexistence in Menancia.
Your praise does me too great an honor. I was merely following the wishes of my own heart. And even then, it only lasted until the crown contest began. After that, Tarnagan and I became fierce competitors for the position of Lord. Tarnagan had fallen for Faria. By becoming Lord, he aimed to wrest her from her humble origins and raise her to the highest echelons of society. But fate was not so benevolent.
What happened?
Tarnagan was no match for me in combat. On a level playing field, he wouldn't have stood a chance. But he was desperate and low on options, and he couldn't stand the thought of defeat.
You mean he resorted to dirty tactics to try to win, right? But then why does Faria think... Wait, don't tell me she doesn't know.
How could I tell her? Combined with the trauma of losing her beloved, and by her friend's hand, no less. She would have been devastated.
So instead you let her go on hating you, so she could use that hate as a crutch for her grief?
That's not the same as running away, though.
It is exactly the same. Unable to face the loss of my friend and the burden of my duty. Instead, I decried my fate and looked away from what I'd done. As for what happened after, that you already know.
But if you hadn't become Lord, Menancia wouldn't be what it is now. The Danans there would still be suffering under Renan oppression like before.
Shion's right. What other lord would have treated me as you did? Anyone else and I would have been dead long ago. You've saved so many people, Dohalim. You saved me. It's thanks to you that I'm here today. So, try not to blame yourself. The burden you've placed on your own shoulders is too much for anyone to bear.
Frank as always. But I shall do my best to heed your advice.
Do you think he'll be all right?
Yeah, I think so. He's got Kisara.
It's important to have someone like that.
I didn't realize how difficult it is just to be there for someone.
Sometimes just knowing someone's on your side can be enough. And he knows, Shion. I promise he does.
I hope you're right. Alphen.
Yeah?
I never appreciated until recently just how much you were always there to support me.
It goes both ways. You've helped me keep going more times than I can count.
Maybe, but I still wanted to say thank you.